Hi guys, it's Alexis from Synonyms for Happiness, and today I got something so cool to show you guys. We just got it in the mail, and it's one more step towards self-sustainability. We got a dehydrator. So let's take a look at our box here. We got the Excalibur, looks like 2400. So let me tell you a little bit about this model. It's a little bit smaller model, and we're gonna take a look at our box here. And this is what the box looks like for it. It's a 4-tray dehydrator, and it gives you some examples of some things you can do with it. Fruits and vegetables, herbs, potpourri, pet treats. Gives you some examples of some uses. It says it can be as easy as slice, dry, eat, or store. Which, I'm sure there's a different techniques for whatever you want to do. But like I said, it can be that basic, you guys. So when we opened it up, we came with this manual here. And this manual gives you so many cool tips, you guys. Let's see, it gives you some safety things up here, operating instructions, preparation, storage, reconstitution, which is just, rehydrating to use again, jerky, other wildlife, fish and game, raw and living foods, other dehydrator uses, and just some recipes, helpful things, warranty things, which you guys, I do believe, I want to say this came with a 3-year warranty. So that is just so helpful. And in the back here, I know it offers some recipes for every tells you things. It has some charts here, so if you're not an expert in dehydrating, you're just getting started, this is so helpful. It tells you the food, how to prep it, and the test to tell if it's done and how long it should take, just about. So let's take a look at the model we decided to get. The model we decided to get, like I said, was the Excalibur 2400 food dehydrator, and this one just comes with the temperature control. And that's about it. I know they have 3 main features they advertise. They have the temperature control, they have the timer, and I do believe like the clear front door, maybe. Those are the 3 ones. And if you look at this timer dial, you can see it gives you examples of what you would use that specific temperature for. So lower temperatures, herbs, living foods, raising bread, yogurt, 115, vegetables, 130, fruit and fruit roll-ups, and 165 at the top here is jerky, meat, and fish, and it has a little on and off switch. This is pretty easy to turn. We got the black version. I did not get the version with the clear front door, mainly because, guys, they were just out of stock of so many things. I've been noticing that they were out of stock of a lot of self-sustainable things, like, for example, a grain mill. They're completely out of grain mills lately, so we decided to get a dehydrator for our next step. But you open this up, it has 4 trays. It comes with these little plastic mats here, which are super easy to clean, you guys, super easy. And this is just so light, too. Even if it was filled up with undehydrated foods and just starting it up, it would be so light. And yeah, we just got the plain black. Looks so good. I'm so excited about it. And that's pretty much the specs of this thing, you guys. And like I said, the reason why we decided to get the Excalibur is because it is just such a good brand, and it is like the #1 brand as far as food dehydrators go. And the reason why I decided to get this smaller one is because I was looking at a 9-tray or a 10-tray dehydrator, and I'm part of a couple Facebook groups that mentions, like homesteading, prepping, survivalism kind of things. So I asked in my Facebook groups, I said, does anybody have a food dehydrator that they recommend and the reasons why, and can you give a link to where I can get it? And a couple of people, just gave me some dehydrators they liked, said it worked well for a lot of years. I checked those out, but there was one comment I got from a woman. She was older, and she said, I got the Excalibur, like a lot of people are recommending. She's like, but I got one of the smaller ones, which was, a curious thing to me. I'm like, well, if you can afford the 9 or 10 tray ones, why wouldn't you want to get a bigger machine? And she said the reason why she got a smaller machine is because she was thinking about the power draw. So if you guys ever want to go off grid or use solar panels, it's important to consider what kind of power draw that your machines use. So a big 9-10 tray dehydrator is obviously going to pull a lot more power than our smaller 4-tray dehydrator. So that was a cool thing, and we are considering in the future maybe going off the grid using solar panels. So I figured, it's no no problem for me to use a smaller dehydrator, and it can benefit us in the future without having to buy a whole new machine. Also, we live in a very small space, so as far as storing this machine, it's going to be much easier to store a small 4-tray dehydrator than a 9 or 10-tray dehydrator. So it's just so space effective as far as not only the size of the machine itself, but as far as food storage goes. I think dehydrating is one of the most space effective ways to preserve your food or your harvest, or if you can make the most of sales, whatever. I feel it's the most space effective way, because not only does the food not even stay the same size as it would necessarily in canning and freezing, it does shrink, but with dehydrating, the food gets much smaller than its regular size. So as far as how much you can fit in a jar, the supply is way more. So you can store more food in a smaller space, which is great for people like us who live in tiny apartments or tiny houses or are just looking to downsize overall. I think it's a great purchase. And just want to throw this in there because I know there's probably going to be somebody who says it. This video is not sponsored by Excalibur at all. I'm just starting out on this whole YouTube thing and Instagram thing and Facebook thing. So Excalibur has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to tell you guys about the dehydrator we chose and what was going to work for our family. On these little mats, which are pretty easy to wash from what I've read anyway. So yeah, there's plenty of room in here. I believe this model has 8 square feet of dehydrating space, which isn't a ton, but you gotta keep in mind, we are a small family. And if you guys didn't already know, we live in a very small space. What I plan to do with the dehydrator. Now, I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about what can I do with dehydrated stuff? What do I do with them after they're dehydrated? Can I use them like I would regular foods? And the answer is yes and no. It depends on what you're going to dehydrate. Some things you can dehydrate and then rehydrate and use them as you would a fresh vegetable, but some the texture changes. And it's not just all about dehydrating and rehydrating. You can actually powder things as well. So you can like dry zucchini, and so you can powder it. And let's say you have picky eaters in your house. Using the powder is so, the pieces are so fine. They won't be able to pick it out or anything, but they'll still get the nutrients. And the cool thing about dehydrating is that if you do believe the temperature is between 105 and 115, you actually preserve all the nutrients that are in the food. You do not cook it out, which is something that can happen easier in canning and hot processes like that. So I think this is a really cool idea for that. Why I got this dehydrator. So not only like I said, the Excalibur was a very good brand as far as dehydrators go. I know it's one of the best. So I felt my money was well spent. Even though I did get a smaller model, I feel like my money is well spent. And you guys, this is so light. So, the bigger model, it might be kind of clunky and hard to move around, but the 4-tray one is just so light, you guys. It is so easy to move around, and even I imagine even if it was full, you could still pick it up and move it around with ease. It's so light. And, we just wanted storage space needed to store this. Like I said, we live in technically what is a studio apartment, so technically we live in a tiny house, which is another cool movement you guys should all check out. But the storage space needed to store this, very minimal. It's a very small piece of equipment here. It preserves the nutrients in the food. If you cook it between 105 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit, it preserves the nutrients, so you don't lose a ton of nutrients in the dehydrating process. You can powder what you dehydrate, and that preserves not only all the nutrients still there, but because the powder comes from a whole food, all the fiber that you get from the whole food is still in that powder. But the difference when you have that going on is that this powder that you make from these dehydrated foods, it will not dissolve in water. There will still be some graininess to it because all the fiber is still in there. So you want to watch out for that. If you're making like a soup or a broth of some sort that does not have any other veggies or any other texture in there, you will taste some graininess in there. Just to make that clear. And some other reasons are, I have 2 kids. One of them is just starting on solid food, so not as big of a problem yet. And my oldest is just now starting to get to the picky eating stage, and my fiance is a little bit of a picky eater too. But the cool thing about this is you can powder it, and it's pretty much the whole food except for it's in a powder form. So let's say you're cooking up some hamburger or something, you can add in powdered veggies and get the flavor and the nutrients and the fiber all in that hamburger without having to have those big chunks of veggies that you might not like. Or you can make a sauce. You can make a spaghetti sauce without having to have the big chunks of tomatoes in there. Because I myself know I don't like the big chunks of tomato in my spaghetti sauce. So that's a big deal for everybody in our household. So I just thought that would be something that would just be so useful to us, being able to get more fruits and vegetables in our diet that we might not otherwise eat because we don't necessarily like the texture. And not to mention, the Excalibur dehydrators are actually made in the United States. And now for some of you watching this, that might not be a big deal because you don't live here, but I do live in the United States. So that is just so cool to be able to buy not only a very high quality dehydrator, but it's made in the country I live in. So what's not to love about that? You know, I can't necessarily buy local with this, purchase, but I can still buy something that was made in my country, and that is so cool, you guys. That should be something that we all strive for, is to get local when we can, as close to this as we can, because not only is it good in supporting our economies, but it's also so good for the environment, you guys, not having to truck things super far, use a bunch of gas. It's just so good for everybody involved. You can get it quicker, it's good for the environment, and it's good for the local economies. So what's not to love? Also, guys, I just wanted to let you know, food dehydrators are not just for preserving your garden or, making fruit leathers, making crackers, that sort of thing. But let's say there's a really good sale at your grocery store on fresh strawberries or something. And you can't eat like 6 pints of strawberries in a week or something before they go bad, right? Your dehydrator. You guys, your dehydrator can preserve those strawberries for so long. You can use them in cereal, you can use them in granola, you can make fruit leathers with them. There's just so many different things. And, you can take advantage of those sales. Not only are there multiple ways of saving money with this thing, you can preserve your garden harvest, A lot of people garden and preserve food for their own house and their own families. And that's a way to save money. But also, if you don't garden or you don't have the space to garden, you don't need to get use out of a dehydrator. You just have to go to the grocery store. If they're having a really good sale, you could, if they're having a really good sale on some sort of beef, you can make jerky. If they're having good sale on strawberries, you can dry those strawberries. If they're having a good sale on oranges, you can dry those oranges. Use them in your tea. You can use them for arts and crafts. You can use them as Christmas decorations. That is so gorgeous, having full, big slices of orange, hanging on your Christmas tree, and dried cranberries, and how festive would that be? All with your dehydrator. You don't have to go to Hobby Lobby for gorgeous decorations or anything like that, you guys. You can use what you got, You got a dehydrator, you got a good sale at the grocery store, there you go. You can buy yourself some hemp cord and you're done. It's just so fun. I don't even know where to start, you guys. Honestly, we're probably going to start on some fruit leather, though. Oh, there's some sirens. Hope everybody's okay out there. But we're probably going to start with some fruit leather because I know my son will probably think that is the coolest thing. And it's probably going to be so on that for snacks. And he loves raisins. We might go buy some grapes and make our own raisins. Who knows what's going to come? I can't wait to show you guys the future videos. I'm just so excited. And I hope you're as excited as me. And stay tuned for our future videos.